Picture this: a dusty street in Capernaum, packed shoulder to shoulder with desperate people. They're all pressing toward one man, Jesus of Nazareth, hoping for a miracle. But hidden in this crowd is someone who shouldn't be there at all. A woman who, by Jewish law, should be locked away from society. For 12 long years, she's been bleeding. Not just physically, but socially and spiritually dying as well. In first century Palestine, a woman with any kind of bleeding was considered ritually unclean. She couldn't touch anyone. She couldn't enter the temple. She couldn't even sit where others might later sit. Every person she touched would become unclean too. For over a decade, this woman has lived as a social ghost, watching life happen around her, but never being part of it. But her isolation runs deeper than social rules. She's spent everything she had on doctors. Luke tells us she had spent all her livelihood on physicians and could not be healed by any. Mark adds that she had suffered many things from many physicians, had spent all that she had and was nothing bettered, but rather grew worse. Imagine the cruel irony. Every attempt to find healing only made her poorer and sicker. Yet here she is, pushing through the crowd toward Jesus. She's heard the stories: the paralyzed man who walked, the leper who was cleansed, the demon-possessed man who was freed. Something inside her whispers that this teacher from Nazareth might be different. But there's a problem. She can't approach Jesus directly. As an unclean woman, she'd defile him and cause a scandal. So she hatches a desperate plan. If only I may touch his garment, she thinks, I shall be made well. It's a plan born of faith, mixed with fear, hope, battling shame. The crowd presses tighter as Jesus moves through the street. This woman sees her chance. Crouching low, she reaches through the forest of legs and robes. Her trembling fingers stretch toward the edge of Jesus' cloak, the hem of his garment, the tassels that every Jewish man wore as reminders of God's commandments. Then it happens. The moment her fingers brush the fabric, power flows. Not gradually, not partially, but instantly and completely. Mark records that immediately the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the affliction. 12 years of suffering ended in a heartbeat. But Jesus stops walking. "Who touched my clothes?" he asks. The disciples think he's joking. You see the multitude thronging you, and you say, "Who touched me?" But Jesus knows the difference between a casual bump and a touch of faith. He felt power leave him. The woman realizes she can't hide. Trembling, she falls at Jesus' feet and tells him everything. The whole truth. Her years of suffering, her desperate plan, her instant healing. She expects rebuke for defiling a holy man. Instead, she finds something she hasn't experienced in 12 years. Acceptance. Jesus looks at her with compassion and speaks words that change everything. "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your affliction." Notice what he calls her, not woman or unclean one, but daughter. He publicly restores her to the family of God. This isn't just a healing story, it's a story about the power of desperate faith to break through impossible barriers. This woman had every reason to give up. She was broke, sick, isolated, and getting worse. But something inside her refused to accept that her story was over. Her faith wasn't perfect or polished, it was desperate and risky. She didn't have a theological degree or perfect understanding. She just believed that touching Jesus could change everything. And it did. Today, you might feel like this woman. Maybe you're facing a situation that's lasted too long, cost too much, and seems hopeless. Maybe you feel isolated, misunderstood, or forgotten. Maybe you've tried everything and everyone, and nothing has worked. But this story whispers hope. It says that when you reach out to Jesus in faith, no matter how desperate or imperfect that faith might be, he responds with power and compassion. He doesn't rebuke you for being bold. He calls you daughter or son and welcomes you into his family. The bleeding woman's story reminds us that sometimes the most profound miracles happen when we have nothing left to lose and everything to gain. Her desperate touch became a doorway to wholeness, acceptance, and peace.